Hello, and welcome back to Crib Frame, where I talk about how cinema shapes how we see people with disabilities. Today, we're gonna talk about the film The Elephant Man by David Lynch. When I decided to watch The Elephant Man, I was excited. Almost everyone I spoke to described it as a masterpiece. And in many ways, it's a carefully crafted and powerful film, but I also watch it as someone with a visible disability. Someone who has experienced prejudice, staring, and assumptions based on appearance. And because of that, I often felt torn. This video is not about denying the film's importance, but about asking how disability is being represented and at what cost. David Lynch is praised for often displaying disabled characters at his work, and that inclusion matters. But inclusion alone isn't the same as agency. So we need to ask ourselves, are disabled characters giving subjectivity, or are they primarily being used as symbols, metaphors, or spectacles? This film exists within a long cinematic tradition where disabled bodies are rarely allowed to simply be. Instead, they're being asked to mean something to the audience. It is relevant to remember that this film was inspired by a real person, real facts. Merrick was a real individual. One of the most striking tensions in The Elephant Man is the contrast between the freak show and the hospital. Surprisingly, the freak show's performers are often portrayed with warmth and humor. The final interaction between them feels human. It represents a collective and is grounded in lived experience. One example of this is the movie Freaks, which I talked about in my previous video. But as we see in the movie, when Merrick enters the hospital, something shifts. Even after proving his intelligence, sensitivity, and competence, he's infantilized. He becomes an object of care rather than a subject with autonomy. Here, science replaces the friction, but the gaze remains controlling. Both places claim authority over his body. There's a moment near the end of the film that Merrick attends a theater. It's one of his biggest dreams, but his appearance, the fact that he was simply there, became a performance, became a show. So the audience starts applauding. On the surface is framed as acceptance, but we need to ask ourselves, why are they applauding? Is it because of his presence as an equal spectator, or because his mere experience is framed as brave? He's not performing, he's simply there.
There's something that I've been meaning to ask you for some time now.
What's that?
Can you cure me?
This is where the film becomes most troubling for me. The ending, paired with the idea that nothing will die, frames Merrick as less of a complex person and more as a metaphorical figure, a symbol of purity, transcendence. This reinforces a dangerous narrative that disabled lives are tragic and that peace and freedom can only exist outside of the social world. It suggests a kind of destiny rather than recognizing how social attitudes create suffering. To be fair, Lynch's work does challenge conventional ideas about communications and the body. Across his films, speech is not the only form of expression. The body itself becomes a site of meaning. As theorists have noted in relation to Twin Peaks, disability often signifies access of other modes of knowing, sometimes even spiritual or divine. Lynch pushes against the idea that normality is neutral. Instead, he exposes how aggressively society tries to control difference. But even this philosophy has limits, because when disability becomes primarily symbolic, lived experience risks being erased.
I wish I could sleep like normal people.
One of the most compelling ideas in Lynch's work is that art and imagination can become tools of resistance. For disabled people facing hostile social attitudes, creativity is not a consolation prize. It is a real form of communication. But the danger lies on romanticization. Sentimentalized representations can be devastating. They seduce disabled people into internalizing idealized images and even into thinking that they are not enough. When Merrick wishes to be like everyone else, the film invites us to feel compassion, but it also reveals how deeply normality wounds everyone. The Elephant Man teaches about something important, perhaps unintentionally. Disability is not an object, it is not a metaphor nor a tragic destiny, it's a social process. This is the social model of disability. The violence does not come from the body itself, but from the systems that define which bodies are acceptable. Lynch exposes the cruelty of normality, but he never fully escapes it. This was Script Frame. Thanks for watching, and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this for me to keep doing it every week. So I was editing the video and I was researching, and I had to put this in the end because it's very important. So Adam Pearson is apparently playing a part of a remake of The Elephant Man. That's if this is true, this is an article. I think People's Magazine, and it was published last year, 2025. So if it's true, which I hope it is being produced right now, is being filmed right now, probably. And this is huge, and I was so happy with that because Adam Pearson also played was an actor in A Different Man, the movie A Different Man, that I will later discuss in this channel too. And he actually has a facial disability. So it says here that according to Verity, he will become the first disabled actor to portray Merrick on screen. It also says that Adam Pearson, is also a disability advocate and an actor. He considers himself both, and he can think of no great honor and a very heavy responsibility to tell the real truth of the story of Merrick. So that is huge for disability representation on screen, and I'm very excited for that. I also do want to say that I appreciate David Lynch's work, and he is one of my favorite directors. But when it comes to representation, disability representation on his works, part of it I agree, part of it I don't. It's kind of controversial in my opinion. So, but I do appreciate his work, and I'm not. This is not about like saying, oh, this director is bad, this director is good. This is about like critically analyzing in order to make a contribution to society.